Good evening, everybody. This is John Farian with LiveLARGEUniverse. I'm here with you tonight, and I'm going to be bringing you an amazing guest I'm super excited about, Mike Metzger. Nope, not that Mike Metzger. Everybody knows that freestyle motocross guy, no. But my other buddy, Mike Metzger, he is of Northwest Dynasty, does a YouTube channel. He was just over at Caleb Kesterke's Proven Progression, had an amazing trip. But before we get into all that, I need to tell you about the Avalanche Alliance Sweepstakes. But right before I do that, if you're watching, make sure you guys jump into the comment section here and let us know where you're watching from tonight. We got to know where you're watching from so that we get some engagement in the comments. We love seeing where everybody's watching from. So if you're in British Columbia, if you're in California, wherever it is, and by the way, no matter where you live, if you're in North America, Canada, or the USA, you are eligible for this sweepstakes. So folks, I just did this screen grab here just a little bit ago. We are now up to $120,000, almost $121,000, and I have a link just for all of you in the show notes that you can click into, and you're going to see this. You can see over here on the right, you get 40% more tickets for your purchase. And so, $25 will get you 14 entries instead of just 10. Throw down $100, you can get 65 tickets normally, an additional 26 tickets coming to you. Everybody, you can win a Ford F350 diesel pickup, brand new 2022 model truck, and then that's our grand prize. So in the picture here, you also see the Marlon Sled Deck, brand new 2023 Marlon Sled Deck is our first place prize, separate from the truck, and that prize is about $6,000 prize that you're eligible for that. And then we also have a full head-to-toe set of climb gear, full head-to-toe set of fly racing gear, almost $100,000 worth of prizes. And now that we've broken that $100,000 barrier, we are now at that, past that break-even point. And every dollar above $100,000 is money that's going to go back into Avalanche education, the scholarship program that we do at ARI, the Live Large University scholarship program, and also we do grants for Avalanche centers across the country. So a year ago, we gave grants out exclusively, and I believe it was around $100,000 worth of grants that went out to all of your local Avalanche centers that applied for those and was approved for those. And so, all right, everybody, so make sure you get in on the sweepstakes. There's less than 1 week left to go. I think it's 8 days left. Tomorrow, there'll be like 1 week left. So through Sunday, the hill climbs. So if anybody's going to the Jackson Hill Climbs, I personally, John Farian, will be there at the Jackson Hill Climbs, standing next to that exact pickup, and we're going to be selling tickets to you all weekend long at the Jackson Hill Climbs. But that's not exclusive at the Hill Climbs. You guys can still go online here and get those tickets online all the way through next Sunday at the end of the day, and then it's closing out. And then the following week, we're going to give that truck away and the sled deck and the riding gear. So amazing prizes, everybody. We need to raise a bunch of money. We're way behind on that from where we need to be. A lot of things are impacting the economy right now, as you all know. And so would love to have you guys help support the Avalanche Alliance and all the funds where that goes, and get a chance to win some amazing prizes. Speaking of prizes, check these out over here. Like those Mountain Lab saws, those are pretty sweet. I've got both of those in my tunnel bag, and they work amazing. And how do you get in on these? Just share this show out, guys. Mike Metzger is here tonight, and we want to help get his story out. How do you do that? You guys share it out on your personal pages. Tell everybody why you think they should watch it, and then let's get over to all of these sled pages that we all are part of and get it out there as well too. So, Mike, I'm about ready to bring you on if you're ready. Let's go in 3, 2, and 1. What's up?
Hey!
Oh my God! I tell you what, man. Like, I'm excited for all my shows. But when I've got a longtime buddy who's crushing it in in what he's doing, and he's on, and I get to hang out with my buddy tonight, if I thought it was appropriate, I would have a beer here, but it's just a glass of water. But check this out. Like, this is a vintage NWAC, Northwest Avalanche Center water glass. Check that out.
Nice, nice. Yeah, no, I was excited too, man. I think we've said we've been friends for like 10 years now, and obviously with what you're doing now, and I mean, I'm just sitting here listening to you talk in the show, and I'm like, wow, this dude is good at this. This is not easy to do, and he is just like crushing it. But 10 years ago to now, and still buddies. You're just a good guy, easy to talk to, which is, I think, why we instantly connected, and make yourself vulnerable, which has always, I think, between you and I, made really good conversation. And,
Absolutely.
I would say lifelong friends.
Absolutely. Well, if life is only 10 years long, but you're older than 10, I'm older than 10, so let's call it longtime friends. How about that?
Yeah. Well, I'm saying for the future, I see us being
Oh, heck yeah. Oh, heck yeah. Like the rest of our lifelong friends.
that's right, but, thin ice there.
I'm in on that program.
Yeah.
But no, in all seriousness, everybody, you guys, like this guy right here on the screen is a very super special guy to me because we have ridden together. We've had many conversations together. Mike has, gone through career changes for himself. You've been going through family things, like you've been growing your family. So we're going to get into all those things tonight. But I've been able to be your friend and talk you through some of that stuff, and we've had good times together chatting through those things. And I'm truly honored, Mike, to have you on there. Just know that I'm grateful for you to be here tonight. So
I feel the same way, John. Exact same way, buddy. Feelings
awesome.
mutual.
Awesome. Well, let's do a little bit about who is Mike Metzger, and let's hit this one right up front. There's another guy out there in the world named Mike Metzger. That's not you, right? Just to be clear, that's
What?
not you. What?
No, that's been a lifelong battle, and we'll jump into my mountain bike career, but that was the most confusing of all of it. Never have your soul crushed quite so much than when a little kid's like, "Oh yeah, I think so highly of you" after a mountain bike show, and then brings up like, "You're so great on a dirt bike too," and you're like, I gotta crush this kid's dream and tell him I'm not the cool guy he thinks I am. Oh no!
Just tell him I'm
$10 for an autograph.
Yeah, you just tell him I'm way cooler than that Mike Metzger, just to be
Yeah,
clear,
right?
right?
Right? Cooler. He's more talented. I'm cooler though. Maybe.
Of course. So anyway, let's get into a little bit about this Mike Metzger, the one here from Washington. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where do you live? What your day job a little bit. Then let's go back into some of your history and what you've been doing, including some of the mountain biking stuff you just mentioned. So go ahead, give us a rundown.
Yeah, I'll try and keep it interesting. I grew up in Newport, Washington, which not a lot of people have heard of. It's on the Idaho border there. It's a small town, like 2,000 people. Lived on a little lake there, Diamond Lake, and it actually would get enough snow in the winter that we could leave right out the garage. And had an old Polaris Cobra, air cooled with the metal lug track that my dad got a deal on and fixed the track that was ripped with like riveting some seatbelt material on there and duct tape. And I still remember going down the trail feeling bump, 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 but yeah, we could go right out onto the lake when it was frozen into the mountains and ride around. And man, I can't even remember, maybe 8 to about 12, I think we snowmobiled, and then ever since then we had gotten rid of them. But Diamond Lake was a great place to grow up, small town with forests everywhere. Absolutely loved it. My mom and dad were adventurous. They're the ones that kind of, like I said, it got me into snowmobiling and got us doing it as a family. I also have a younger brother, so we really just enjoyed that kind of small town feel, being out in the outdoors and be able to go right out your back door and experience that was really awesome. And that's also kind of how the mountain biking thing came about was, we go right out the back, out into the mountains, into the trails. And I just kind of found that my personality type really is driven by self-growth and figuring things out little bit until, you all of a sudden get to where you're looking for sponsors and, videotaping and putting it on the internet basically. But from there, that's what I did out of high school is I put together this little sponsorship packet, and I only actually sent it to one company because and now, that I know myself older, it really vibes with who I was, but I wasn't just going to work with whoever. Like, please, anyone take me. I remember seeing this newer company and their bikes, and I really liked them a lot. The design of the bike and just kind of their philosophy on business and biking. And so I sent them a resume that's actually hilarious because it is literally a photo book I made with my mom at like an arts and crafts place, like cutting out pictures. It's kind of embarrassing, but it's also hilarious.
I mean, let's be honest. That's the Mike Metzger that I know true and well. It's like let's just get some scissors out. Let's make something happen, and it'll be way better than anybody could imagine. Even though you've got some Elmer's glue and some scissors, right?
I don't know if I'd say better, but definitely different. That's for sure. So we had basically scrapbook my mom and I had made and sent it off to Kyle and Kevin, and at least I guess a photo or two in there was impressive enough for them to get back to me, and they decided to sponsor me, which was freaking amazing as a kid. I drove overnight from Newport to Seattle, which is where Kyle and Kevin were based out of initially, And my friend and I got there like super early, like 3 in the morning to his house. We're like, well, now what do we do? Basically like fell asleep with Savage Garden on the radio, and he finally comes out and knocks on the window like, hey, are you Mike? And yeah, here we are. Oh, that's embarrassing. And he took me down into their basement, and I still remember just like this tiny basement with like maybe 10 boxes. I'm like, all right, here's your frame, your downhill frame, your dirt jump frame. And that was Kevin Menard's house. But yeah, that was just like the start of kind of all of it. And
that's awesome.
That caused me to end up moving from Newport area to Bellingham, which is where they had moved from after I had graduated high school, and kind of all this had happened. They moved to Bellingham to get a warehouse going and everything. And so I wasn't sure what I wanted to do in college, and I knew I didn't want to work towards a goal I didn't see or know what I was doing. So I told my parents that I was going to go work for Transition Bikes and go to community college and try and figure things out. And I was with them for probably 10 years, and they were just like salt of the earth guys, some of the greatest guys.
That's awesome.
Forever. And I remember Kyle well past the time that the business was successful and they were making good money. And Kyle was still driving around this 92 Honda Accord that his grandmother had given him. And here's this guy.
Sentimental value, right?
Just just practical. He's just so practical, man. Just like no ego, no like has to prove anything to anyone. Just like what mattered to him was that company and it being successful in the way he wanted it to be. And that had a huge effect on how I grew up and how I saw on the work ethic and authenticity, which is that's like a word I need tattooed on my back, because I just like that always comes up in deep conversations. It just was, every intent was pure. And I just have a ton of respect for those guys. But lived there for a while, and that's when I actually met my wife in Ferndale. And
how many years ago was that now, Mike?
Oh, geez, don't do that, John.
Come on now. It's anniversaries are coming up, all those things. You got to be staying on your toes.
5 below 10. Don't make me do math, not lie.
So I don't know if for you guys who follow me on Facebook and follow my show, like y'all know that like I married up, like it's super obvious, but I'm just gonna say Mike's in that camp too. I've seen your wife. I think I've met her once or twice before out in the snow parks or whatever. But amazing woman, and the fact that she puts up with you is anybody's guess why, right? I mean, geez.
I don't know. I can't even put up with myself sometimes. So yeah, I feel for her, but she is. It is one of those classic kind of opposites attract. I like to be the life of the party and eyes on me, and she would much rather just sit against the wall and watch and be very calm.
That sounds very familiar, Mike. I know the feeling.
Yeah, but it's worked great. It's worked out great.
That's awesome. Yep. And along the way, you guys started a family along the way too. You got how many little ones now?
Yeah, so that was our first son was Vincent. He's 5 now. And that just, as everybody knows, kind of try not to get too off track, but man, it's the best thing in the world, but it definitely kills any sort of passions that involve leaving for the mountains on the weekends for a full day, right? So we had Vincent, and then a couple years later we had Riley, which was just like such a blessing. I'm fine with, I was like, boy, girl, whatever, it didn't matter to me. But I was thinking like, boy and a girl, like how cool is that? You get the full spectrum of life there, right?
Yeah.
So when she popped out, that was awesome. And fun fact was, for both of them, we didn't know the sex. I didn't want it. That was like, I was like, this is one of life's like authentic, real
surprises.
Like, surprises, and so both of them popping out, it was just like such a beautiful moment, and one boy, one girl, it was awesome, man.
Yeah, well, that's definitely, speaking for myself now that mine are like 19 and 21, and yours are quite a few years behind mine, but I can speak from experience and make an assumption for you is that it changes life, right? Like, the idea that you can just go take off and go mountain biking or snowmobiling anytime you want, and all of a sudden now it's like Oh no, there's some little ones at home that need my attention too, and I think to me that's part of this story is the balancing of like how do you continue to push hard in your passions and doing what you do, and because I mean from the outside watching, Mike, is you've got, and we're gonna get to this in a minute, but you've got a YouTube channel you've been doing, you've got a social media content, you've been doing a lot of really fun, and watching you progress in your riding, like I remember when you and I rode back in the day, you and I were attempting to do reentries together. I remember one day
Yeah,
we were out at like
still working.
Lake Cochise. And now you're like full on bow tying and the whole thing. Like you've surpassed anything I can do nowadays. I mean, it's been a while since you and I have even ridden together recently, and so we got to make that happen. Let's make that happen before the season's over. But
I've talked about doing an episode with Live Large, so
yeah, it'd be fun.
I'm in. That'd be
Yeah, yeah.
awesome.
But you've been able to continue to progress your riding and to be able to continue to enjoy your passion while balancing the family and just I'm a people watcher, and watching the way you interact with your kids, whether it be in the videos you do or just seeing you in person out at the snow parks and the kids are running around in the sleds and all that stuff too. Like you're like rock star dad from my point of view, watching what you're doing and then being able to balance all that and to keep the family happy and everything too. It's a juggling act, and it's the years that they're in now when they're that little is some of the hardest years to balance at all. And so
Oh,
talk to me a little bit about like how do you like every day, when you're going out for the weekend or whatever, how do you balance and prioritize that, and how do you try to include them in those plans?
yeah. Well, I'm going to step back a little bit because it needs to be done in order to kind of
Sure.
explain that. I've been, as you know, because you and I have
Just
some
so
of
we're
the deep.
clear, we all know about the birds and the bees. You don't have to explain that part.
Oh,
Just to
oh,
be
oh,
clear. Just
oh.
to be clear, Mike.
Slideshow away. We don't need.
That's what I love
No,
about you. I can just bust you up here.
yeah, no, well, what I was gonna say, like, we've always had great conversation, and I, for whatever reason, most time I was like, geez, John's not gonna want to hang out with me if I keep being so negative. But I just always struggle with career. You
Yeah.
know, bikes was awesome and amazing, but I kind of turned a passion into a career, and it just got to where I didn't enjoy it anymore, and I realized I wasn't growing either. I was just kind of like they let me handle the sponsorships, and I was doing warranty, but I don't know. I just was like, what else is out there? My wife at the time worked at Boeing, and I'm like, man, that sounds pretty sweet. Go and work at one of the world's biggest companies. Clock in, clock out, and
Yeah.
then go ride and enjoy it. So I went to Boeing, and as we talked about, that wasn't my cup of tea, and so left there, went to another company that was more corporate. That wasn't my cup of tea. And the whole time trying to balance the financial aspect of
Yeah.
writing,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
like, I mean, insane, right? With also in our market trying to move forward in life, buying a house and,
Yeah.
you know, vehicles that don't break down all the time, and having your savings in the right place so that you can retire one day, and selfishly trying to ride snowmobiles too that aren't 20 years old. But so I've struggled a ton with my career, and just recently, I say one of the things I've learned, and this is kind of like goes back to, like I said, the authenticity, is I can't deny like who I am and what's important to me, and it's beyond. Like a big point for me was it's beyond just being selfish, right? Like going riding, it's so selfish, but I am so much more a better husband, a better father, a better friend, a better person when I have those, right? When I'm able to go and do that even once or twice a week, which
Yeah.
didn't even happen the last few years with the kids. Trying
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
progress writing and getting out once a month or three times a year is really hard to do. But kind
Yeah.
of the whole point I'm getting at with this into the family aspect was I just recently finally, like the last 2 years, I've been building a dirt work company on the side. And that's not my, I know nothing about it other than I've always been a DIYer and
Yeah.
capable of doing things. And so I, bought a machine. Whoa.
They disagree with what you're saying. I think they're calling you out right there.
She just wants to be live too. She's the
Yeah.
wife of the
If she's there, poke her head in if you want to say hi, but otherwise, no worries.
firms might not be worth it.
Yeah. Yeah.
This was like a different type of show. But last 2 years I've been building that on the side, and then this December I quit my job and went full time with the dirt. Well, didn't do anything this winter except for ride, as probably most people noticed. But I had saved up to kick it in gear this spring, which it's already started. So that's one of the reasons I've been riding so much this year and able to progress, because I've ridden more this year than I think I've ridden in my entire life. Being
That's
able to
amazing.
actually consistently get out once and sometimes twice a week is life changing as far as progressing your riding. And it's just fills me with what I need to be the best I can be for my family.
100%. I
So,
totally understand, honestly.
yeah. Yeah. And so that's kind of where the balances come from. And I also, my wife is not like an outdoorsy, like, yeah, I want to go snowmobiling with the girls and like, learn to do this. So she's like, I want to be on a sled with like heated seats and cruise control, and I'll go out if it's nice, and so it's nothing I push or force on her at
Yeah.
all. And she's been a good sport and done it with me in the past, but until we had kids, she was not that much about it. And now she's just kind of all about that fun stuff because she knows it's so important for them, right? Those fun memories of all of us to get outdoors, to do
Yeah.
something just really fun, exciting, unique, and
Yep.
share that time together. We've, I bought a motor home, little enclosed trailer with tow behind it. And I mean, that's just one of the most fun things for people like that don't have a cabin, it's like a mobile cabin essentially. And
Yeah.
there's not many things cooler than staying the night out in the snow with your
Yeah.
family.
Up at the snow park and, campfires and getting out sledding.
Growing up, I remember one of my favorite things ever in the winter at home. We had this huge floodlight. I forget how many watts, but it was just like it would light up all the way down to the lake, and our house is a ways from it. But when it snowed and you hit it, it was just this like white wall, and it's just so mesmerizing, and it's just this unstoppable force. And yeah, so from even a young age, just watching it snow, there's something magical about it. And now
100%. Yeah.
the kids and the wife and be up and warm, and it's awesome, man.
Very cool, very cool. And so along the way you've been, and before anybody who's watching, let you know, like we are about to get here in a little bit to, you had recently gone to Caleb Kesterke's Proven Progression Clinic, which I think is, a lot of folks want to hear about that. I know specifically I do, and we're going to
Yeah.
get to that in a minute. We'll kind of wrap that up towards the end of half of the show here, but along the way you've, juggling all this, and you've also found fun and entertainment in sharing it through social media and specifically a YouTube channel that you've created. Tell us a little bit about and how did it become a thing like Northwest Dynasty? Where did that come from? What was the idea? What was your goals with it? Like talk about how it kind of came to be and what you've been doing with it.
Yeah, well, I think obviously it's great, perfect time for it too, because in the struggles of a career, I don't know if I'm sure you remember, and most people might, that like I started this really small goggle company
I do remember
that
that. I actually still have some in the closet.
I still have some pairs and I use them a lot. They're for
Yeah.
what they were, they're really pretty decent. They wasn't like I made my own mold. I just went out to a couple factories and had them send me some pairs and test them out. But that was kind of like, okay, maybe a career path is,
Yeah.
selling something in the snowmobile industry, but that's hard when your startup is like $300. And, and I mean, to be honest, my focus was all over the place, but, so Northwest Dynasty was just I just wanted to make videos. So I've been doing videos since before I don't even know when YouTube started, or at least I was aware of it in Podunk, Newport. But I would edit my mountain bike videos in high school on these like VHS editing machines. I don't even know. I'm trying to remember what they really were. There were because there was no like digital downloading it, but that was like the a class that they offered at Newport. Amazingly enough, for as small as it was, they had like two machines,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
we'd take our VHS tapes and we'd put them on the machine and learn to edit them. And so that's just been in me for a long time. And then obviously with the mountain biking, like that's how you get to be professional and why
Yeah.
sponsors want to give you things because that's how you get
Yeah.
content and people.
Content creation. It's all about it. Yep.
Totally. And so there's always been this thing of like, it's definitely not been, or it's a necessity, but for me, it's just a creative outlet. I'd say almost
Yeah.
like, like a musician likes to make music. I just like to make videos, but I struggle a little bit with it's writing first, video second,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's like I
It's
like the video.
hard, and a lot of people don't realize that is like when you think of like, and I've actually gone out with folks like Boondock Nation. Like I've actually been out on scene with and as much as they love riding and all this stuff too, like they're spending a lot of time like, okay guys, setting up the shot and we're going to come
Yeah,
down through here and the sun's coming in. Okay, let's wait 15 minutes until the sun pokes through here. And
yeah,
so there's a lot of like, I bet 50% of a day can be easily eaten up with the filming side of the riding, right?
I,
So
I mean, I remember God, what was Chris's? I'm forgetting Chris's last name, but we came up to help him with like an actual professional video they were doing at Baker, and it was funny because it's like 40 people and all this like over the top stuff. And I remember seeing it. It ended up being no riding at all, and just like him putting his helmet on and stepping. But the amount of work that goes into just that on a professional level is, I mean, unbelievable. I'd be crazy to see Boondock Nation in person and what they do, let alone like Ski-Doo or Polaris when they put out an ad. But I try to balance of really what's easy, because like I said, most important to me is the riding. And whether the shot's perfect or like I actually land it, landing is more important. The shot is whatever, because that's, as I'm sure everybody knows, hey, film this. You hand your buddy your phone and it's upside down or shaky or so they're like, whatever, dude. All right, well, next, let's just keep riding. But anyways, tying it all in, it just has been in my blood to make videos, and it's really fun to share content. And also, I like watching it back myself because
you get better. You critique yourself, right?
Well, yeah, for sure. Honestly, that's when you're watching yourself do things. I just rewind slow mo, and then I'll now with Caleb and watching Caleb Kesterke, and I'll rewind slow mo, and yeah, for sure I do a lot of that. But at the same time, like I said, when you get a ride once or twice a month, which was a reality for a long time, like watching it is almost like reliving it. A little bit of joy, is like, that was awesome. I can't wait to get back out again.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the content was just always there for anyone that wanted to watch, and it's just fun to create with no real end goal in mind,
Nope, that's awesome. That's awesome. So I'm about to shift gears on you if you're okay with that. Is there anything else you want to cover in kind of your background, your freestyle stuff, whatever, before we get into the Caleb Kesterke Proven Progression program?
Not at all. Anybody, from this thing they want to ask, I'm always...
Well, we got people over here in the comments. I don't see too many questions here yet. If you guys have questions, drop them in here and I'll come back to them in a little bit. But before we jump into this, one final kind of ask for the audience is let us know if you're here watching, where you're watching from. Drop it in the comments. Just say, hey, I'm from Timbuktu, Toledo, Ohio, whatever. I don't care where you're from. Let us know where you're watching from. And do me a favor, share this out. The way the show gets out, the way we get the message out, and the way we share amazing stories like we're about to share here in a second is by you guys sharing. So get it out there and you'll get in to win some Mountain Lab saws as part of the program. So, all right, you have been progressing. I've been watching you. I mean, by all standards, you're an amazing rider already, right? And so what made you decide that, because here's the thing, it's like, I think all of it, like as riders, like we all are like, yeah, is a clinic for me? Is it not for me? Am I going to go see Chris Brandt? Am I going to see Brett Rasmussen? Am I going to go see Matt Enns? Am I going to go see Dan Adams? Am I going to go see Caleb Kesterke? Like, there's quite a list of people that are out there. And so at the point that you decided, like, I want to go and step up my game, what made you decide to do that? And then ultimately, what made you decide Kesterke was the program that you wanted to go check out?
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, I've always wanting to up my game, and really the main thing that made it Kesterke was he's the guy I've always just associated, like the style I want to be doing, what he's doing, how I see snowmobiling. So if I was going to ride with anyone, it would be the person I most admire as far as their style and their abilities, right? And honestly, I think I have got another buddy, Chad, who had gone to it, and he's like, dude, this guy in person's crazy, and it was kind of like more of a last minute thing. It wasn't that long planned out, but really it was getting the okay from my wife. It was the first trip I've taken away from my kids, and it was my first trip ever, anywhere.
Wow.
So anywhere, like going and leaving, and it was crazy because the entire class, we had 13 guys, and they were all basically our crew. 4 of them I didn't know personally, but someone else that was in our crew knew them from BC, and they were absolute rippers, man. God, they all had Ski-Doo turbos, of course, right? And God, they just shredded. But anyways, getting back to your answering your question was, if I was going to ride with anybody, it was going to be the person I most admired as far as their skill level and their talent, and something I wanted to emulate. And so we signed up for that to go and learn from him. But like I said, what I knew would be the biggest thing is just seeing someone at that caliber in person and realizing not how much you suck, but how much better you can get. What's sled, right? And it's funny, as we all know, everything on video looks, even like the amazing stuff. I mean, if it looks amazing on video in person, it's like absolutely mind blowing. But when he's doing these hop overs and these bow ties, they're literally on hills that are so steep that I just like side hill across and make it. I'm like, yeah, that was rad. And then here he is taking this 500-pound sled and just dancing with it on the hill.
Yeah.
So effortlessly, man. And you see it on video and you're like, that's cool, but you just don't realize that it's so steep. It just is mind boggling. It's unbelievable. And seeing it in person is like mentally opens your mind to what's really possible on a sled and gets you hungry to, try and reach for that kind of a level.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so talk us a little bit, I mean, obviously we don't want to give away all of Caleb's, trade secrets, of course, but what was a day? I mean, how many days were you there? Was it 1 day, 2 days, 3 days? How long?
He does a 2-day clinic, but we had all signed up for a third day, which you can do as a guide day.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'll elaborate on the trip if you want. Like,
yeah, that's what I was just going to go into now is like day by day, kind of talk us through like what was day one, kind of what was the focus, what was day two, and something like I've gone to Seeley Lake a few different times for another event that's in the same areas where Caleb guides and stuff there, and I've actually run into him in the snow park, then talked to him, and I've witnessed him taking his crew out and going through an entire morning safety check, a beacon check. Like I've witnessed that in person, and so I'm, as the Mr. Safety over here, I'm actually curious how he's integrating the safety because here's the thing, it's easy to watch Caleb and go like, oh my god, that guy's amazing, but maybe people aren't realizing like he's as safety focused as he is also, right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'd love to kind of hear that angle of it too as you tell the story. So yeah, what was day one like, or as you arrived the night before even? So
Yeah. Well, I'll just start with day one. So we get to the snow park, and it's absolutely, he kind of like puts people on the spot too. Like, all right, so who read the Avalanche report? And we're all like, and he's like, yeah, shame on you. You all need to be doing that, even if you have a guide. It's your responsibility, and I rely on you guys too. And so, kind of set the tone like, all right, cool, because you're all in, we're having fun mode, right? But
yeah.
Some really good pregame talk that he puts you through. Obviously, we all do the beacon checks, and he goes through every single person to make sure everything's working. He has everybody pull out their probes and assemble them to make sure that they all work and people know how to actually use them. And then I don't know if anybody saw the social media post, but he also has everybody pull out their shovel and assemble it. And if a guy has a really, one of those Walmart shovels or something, he's got a social media post where he just takes it and folds it, turns it basically into like a beer can, And I'm assuming he let the guy either gave him a shovel or let him borrow a real one, but you're not going out with him if you got one of those $10 Walmart, aluminum snap together shovels, which. Yep. Rightfully so, right?
Yeah.
And he'll go over kind of the terrain that we're going to be in and what to expect for the day, which was perfect, right? Because it's also that type of conversation is a great way to even further build relationships with who you're riding with and get to know the guys in a way that's helpful on the mountain, right?
Yep.
So we're all, giving each other slaps and making jokes, but when you get to the serious stuff, which now as a father, I take way more seriously than I did when I was younger, it definitely strengthens the relationship as a group before you go out for the ride.
Very good. Very good. Cool. So day one, is there anything else on day one before you want to shift into later in the week here?
Well, yeah. So we did. I'll tell you what the day's like with Caleb is you all go out. And for me, it's so funny. You're just so nervous, right? Like, I know how to ride a sled, but you're like, just like a different mountain, it's different snow type, it's people you don't know. You don't want to also go out and just like do something stupid or look dumb, and
well, I'm curious because actually I'm going to describe something back to you and you tell me if this is what you're experiencing now, because for me, like in my riding group when I'm out, generally I'm probably leading the group or leading the ride, and so you're making the plan, the area, you're going into familiar zones, and so then as soon as you're on somebody else's schedule and regardless of who it is, there's so much unknown, you don't know what you're getting into, or you're going to get in way over your head or not, no matter how, especially if you're riding with Caleb Kesterke, right? And so I would describe it as anxiety, for me, and I've very recently experienced that when I go to a ride where I'm not guiding it and leading it, and I'm now on somebody else's terrain on their schedule and hoping they are making good decisions. I still get a lot of anxiety. Is that kind of what you would your gut instinct? Is that what you were feeling?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's exactly it. But I mean, safety part and also just looking dumb in front of people. Being honest. Going out in the rain is scary. I had faith that he wasn't going to take us anywhere stupid or let us go anywhere too stupid, especially after the safety talk. But just being somewhere new and riding with people you don't know and terrain you've never ridden. It's a
Yeah.
little unnerving. So the first day, he takes us to a hill and he runs over, how he does hopovers, and he'll do a couple in front of you, and then he likes to walk through his track and really break it down for you, and then kind of cuts you loose, and guys are falling and failing and hopping and not hopping and kind of just going all over like a zoo. And like I said, we had a large crew, so 13 guys tears up the terrain pretty quick.
I
So
bet.
we'd do that until it was kind of obvious everybody was over it or a little bit exhausted, and then he would take us to a new zone. And I think kind of, as we're getting comfortable with him, he's getting comfortable with the group, and seeing where the weak links are, where the skill level is, and that's kind of deciding, as he's talking with Isaac, his brother, where they're going to take the group and what we're going to do. And it was funny because of the main group were kind of Pacific Northwest tree rider style, and the Canadians that were there were like, where's the steepest, meanest chutes to climb, kind of the opposite. But it was pretty fun because then we were all they were putting us in some stuff we weren't used to, and it was awesome watching them. And then they were getting in some stuff they weren't used to with us. And
Yeah.
it was a really, really fun day. And then, like I said, just seeing Caleb in person and what that looks like, and what extremely driven, extremely talented, and lots of time can do for somebody, and
Absolutely.
it blows your mind.
So I got
And
I
so,
got to real quick.
oh,
I'm gonna interrupt you for a second because it's like one thing you said earlier in the show here that this was your first kind of out of state riding experience, right? Like going on a trip, a snowball trip, whatever. And
yeah,
something. I mean, I'm blessed to be able to go all over the country, and I've ridden almost every Western state out there at this point, other than maybe Colorado. But like, tell me what your thoughts are, because here's my observation: when you get guys that ride the Rockies or British Columbia and they're in these epic snow all the time, and they come to the Pacific Northwest, those guys fall all over themselves. They've got to relearn how to ride. But what I
yeah,
see is like when you got a good rider who can ride Cascade Concrete or Sierra Cement, that Western snowpack like we do here
oh,
in Washington, when you can
yeah.
ride crappy snow the way I know you can ride, like it steps
You-
up your game just getting into the good snow, didn't it?
oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that all falls back to, like, I could, when the days, years not too long ago, where it's like you could ride once or twice a month, and it's a Saturday,
Yeah.
so it's, oh, I hope it's not crap, but it usually is. And so you just learn to kind of ride in that garbage snow, and if you can do it on kind of the heavier, wetter snow we have here, you can do it anywhere. You just
Anywhere. Yep.
gotta understand momentum,
Yep.
obviously. But
Yep.
yeah,
Well, we
no,
just
it helps
got.
a
I
lot.
just said that I've never ridden Colorado yet, and I know you haven't now either because you said that's the only place you've ridden. So we just, my buddy Ochi Ochinero, which I believe his name is Matt, if I remember right down there, he says, like, seriously, come to Colorado. So I'm pretty sure he's going to take us, like you and I, we're going to go down to Colorado. He's going to put us up. He's going to guide us
Oh,
around.
I've heard
It's going to be an amazing trip, Mike.
so my buddy Chad, he's been to Chris Brandt's thing 2 or 3 times now, and he's like, it is so hard to ride there compared to what we're used to. They
Yeah.
call their cheater snow. So I'd say, yeah, our snow is hard to learn, the side hilling through bumpy, heavier, wet snow, but their snow is,
It's all about momentum down there because it's all sugar
it's
snow.
like weird. It's like salt,
Yep.
it's so light, and like, you just gotta, as soon as you let off the gas, you're buried. And I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
oh God, guy my size and weight, that's,
Oh, yeah. Don't even start comparing that stuff.
yeah. I got all these friends that are 140 pounds, just
All
like
right.
cruising around. My poor sled's like, somebody kill me.
There you go. There you go. So Uchi, you say done. So let's plan a trip for next year, Mike. If you're in, I think I want to go ride Colorado next year. If you want to join me, let me know. I'm
Oh,
gonna
you're
go.
right.
I'm gonna go hook up with my buddy Mike down there, or Matt down there. Uchi Ochinero is what he goes by. It's his nickname online here. So
I like it. We'll make a video.
awesome. That'd be cool. That'd be fun. So
Love
all right, back to proven progression.
it.
Take.
Yeah, so that was basically day one. A little bit of, also, like I said, with a lot of guys, I can't imagine, like Caleb, it's a little bit like teaching snowmobiling and a little bit like daycare for him, unfortunately. It's just guy, like, zoom, zoom. You got buddies that he's trying to like corral everybody around and kind of make sure that he's got eyes on all of them, obviously. But it was a good day, but everybody, like I said, kind of getting to learn the flow and the vibe and the snow and everything. And that evening, he takes you out to their local steakhouse, which is really fun. Continue the conversation of the day, and then you stay the night at his lodge and do it all over the next day. And it's the same thing. And obviously, the second time around, it's like, who checked the Avi report? Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
checked it, and did not busting out all the shovels or all the gear again, but still checking all the beacons and then going over the avalanche report, and then also asking, hey, who saw any avalanche activity the day before? Like, anybody see anything, worth noting or this or that? And so, we all kind of gave our input, or those that did, and that's how we started that ride out.
Yeah.
And it basically the same as the first day, but now everybody was a lot more comfortable. We all kind of understood the how it worked, because I think the first day we kind of stopped, and some guys obviously like me would be like riding around, but we're like, okay, are we like staying here, or are you just taking a breather, or so then a group would kind of go over here, and it was a little chaotic, and then we all kind of got used to the group and how everything was working. So the second day was just a ton of fun, man.
Awesome.
And same thing, we moved from the hopovers. The second day was teaching bow ties and downhill hopovers. So it was just a phenomenal day. Like, I just look back, I like seeing him ride in person was just worth it alone. It's like kind of going to concert, pay to go see somebody live is what it is, really.
Absolutely.
Keep doing cool stuff while I watch you.
Yeah. And so, like, for me, I've gone to different riding clinics at different places and stuff too, and I know you go into those things, feeling like, oh yeah, I'm a pretty good rider, and then, like, for me anyway, the one I've gone, like, there's been like a key takeaway that I'm just like, oh yeah, like that one thing they taught me completely changed my riding from this day forward. And for me, with mine, it was like foot placement on my running boards. It was something so basic and so simple that nobody ever in all the teaching that ever tried to teach me anything had taught me about, like putting your feet like in a position where you're out on the edge of the rails rather than inboard flat on the running boards, right? It was a super simple thing, but completely changed how I ride going forward. And now it's just like organic and natural, right? And so what was your kind of like one takeaway that you're like, oh my gosh, that unlocked a whole nother level for me just by learning this one or two things? So,
well, it's the hop over for sure, which I really had learned almost not there. It was weird, right? I signed up for the class to learn them, but then did all the learning before, because I was just like watching him and wanting to learn how to do them, and I could kind of do them, but not the way I wanted. And then I finally saw a video on social media by I think it's Alaska Sled Junkie or AK Sled or something. This guy absolutely shreds. Check him out. And it just clicked like a light bulb that I was planting my foot way too early in the hop over, and just doing way too aggressively right off the bat, because I was just so like, I'm doing this, right? And then planting it a little later, and I watched that, and I was like, it clicked a light bulb, but I didn't get to try it at all because I didn't get a ride that week. And then we went straight into the clinic, and so then Caleb went through a spiel, and I watched him in person, and I was like, oh, it's totally what I needed to hear and see for the light bulb click, right? And that was a game changer. I think even in my video, you could see that was the first time trying them since I had like the light bulb had clicked, and it had been 9 days of me like eagerly not being able to wait to get on the hill. And watching the whole time in the car ride down, just breaking down the video and the foot placement. And that was just a huge game changer. And it's funny because, some people, hopovers, you don't need them. And I could totally see why. It's not like a thing you have to really know ever how to do. But to learn them properly just takes a phenomenal understanding of like track speed and momentum and throttle control and all these things that even if you just know how to do it and you never use it, it helps every other aspect of your riding. And now I'm thinking about your question. What I really learned and was a huge takeaway that didn't help me, but I knew I needed to I was like, oh, I didn't get, was watching Caleb and how much control he has over the traction he gets. I was riding a lot just like, hey, whatever traction I have, when I hit it, and not really thinking about how much and when I'm preloading my track. And when it's carving versus when your track is flat and you're putting that input in. And it was just insane because when he's doing hopovers, he was on a boost, but he could do it on anyone's sled. It's almost like he was carving and jumping up the hill, like bunny hopping his sled uphill. And I'm not talking like a normal hill, like an insane, taking a 500-pound machine and hitting the ejecto button almost and hopping 5-6 feet up, perfect hopover, and doing it back and forth for, a couple minutes straight. So and that really made me understand how much more control over that traction I have by when I'm actually flattening and when I'm hitting the throttle and pushing into the skid. So that was a huge takeaway for me of something to work on. Obviously, I
Yeah.
didn't just click and I could figure it out, but I now feel when I'm losing traction and when I get it. And every time I do that, I learn a little more and, get a little better.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm just looking through the comments here. So there's a question that popped up a little bit earlier, and we'll just kind of jump into it quick, and we'll come back to the program progress stuff. But somebody was curious, like, what was your first snowmobile, or what was the first snowmobile you rode back in the day? Like,
Oh, way back. So I'm trying to remember the year, but it was an old Polaris Cobra air cooled, the funny looking one with the single headlight. And, you kind of see the head where the air would come in and cool it down. But
was it a Yamaha?
no, it was a Polaris.
Oh, it was a Polaris. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it's an old TXL or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. But
Yeah.
so that was when I was really, really young and not really my first snowmobile. And then there was that gap from 12 to about, I don't even remember, like 20 something.
Yeah.
When I got into it, the first sled that I got was a 287 phasers.
Nice.
Like 12 years.
I think I actually remember those when you bought those.
But yeah, and then the progression was just, financially as I could each
Oh yeah.
year, stepping it up from
Well,
there.
didn't you just recently pick up a different sled here, like a month ago? How long ago was it your last sled that you just bought? Am I misremembering?
Oh yeah, so I just bought a brand new, well, slightly used Matrix.
A Matrix, okay.
From a guy. So I've got a new Matrix 155 that I'm super impressed with. Holy cow. I
amazing.
Love that.
I've experienced the same thing on the Skidoo side where it's like every generation that you step up, you go from like the Access to the Matrix. And like for Skidoo, it's like Gen 4 to Gen 5. And it's like, how do they get better? How do they get better? Like everything is so awesome. And then you ride the new one and you're like, oh my gosh, it's that much better.
Or getting, to where they seem so minute, but they add up just incredibly. And yeah, I love that Polaris, but I also just recently rode one of those Ski-Doo turbos. Ooh, man, I love those sleds too. They both have their strengths and they both have their weaknesses, that's for sure. But man, where they're at now compared to where they used to be is just like.
Yeah. I made the mistake of riding Edith's new sled, her Gen 5, and I was like the whole beginning half of the season, I was like, I'm just going to ride my sleds. I'm going to load hers and unload hers off the sled deck, and I'm just going to ride mine because I know better, right? And then I was having some issues with one of my sleds, and so I took it out for a test drive that morning, but I brought hers as a backup just in case mine didn't work. And oh no, mine didn't work very well. And so I was forced to ride her new Gen 5, and it took me about an hour of riding, and I was like, dang, that was an expensive ride. Now I got to go buy one.
Now I'm gonna go Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace.
No, I scammed through my my buddy Klim down there, Klim's Eden Cloud Power Sports, and they literally just had a snow check cancellation that some of these snow checks, they've been coming in late, unfortunately, for all the manufacturers. One of these came in super late, but it was exactly the sled I wanted. It was a 154 3-inch Expert package for the Skidoo Summit X, and non-turbo.
Wait, so did you get it?
I did.
Oh, it was good. I hadn't seen that.
Yeah, just like a week and a half ago.
Oh, really? I just saw the new photos of your wife's sled, but I didn't recall seeing
Well,
you.
I have that same problem, Mike, because every time somebody sees my wife or her sled, they don't even notice me. I'm invisible off to the side. Like, that's normal, so I'm not surprised. All good. I know. Like, I've come to live with this burden that I have, which is known as my amazing, beautiful, freaking awesome wife, Edith. Like, it's the downside of being her husband. So.
Yeah, right. I don't know how either of our wives put up with either of us. I think you're probably a little easier than me, though. I'm a little off the chain sometimes. My wife, she's a saint, that's for sure.
There you go. All right, so back to proven progression. What else do you want people to know about your experience that you had there? I think it's a dumb question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Like, obviously, you'd recommend if someone is interested in stepping up their game when it comes to like high-end stuff, like the tricks, the bow ties, the hopovers, all that kind of stuff. Like, that guy's just dialed, and he's going to hook you up, right?
Oh, absolutely. No, it's amazing. And like I said, not just him breaking it down, because, I mean, if it was as easy as him breaking it down and then you could do it, everybody'd be doing everything.
Yeah.
But, I mean, obviously that's important. But for me, it's just seeing him ride and being that, inspired and just what's capable. It's so awesome, man. And I highly recommend it. But obviously your financial situation and your time off have to have to be able to do that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Mike, I learned a long time ago that there's nothing in life that's about the money. It's always about the priorities. You
Yeah.
know as well as I do that, like if I remember right, didn't you at one point have like almost a brand new sled and some old crappy truck that you were driving around? I remember the days you drove around some
Oh,
old crappy truck for a long time. Again,
I'm
you
still driving. Oh, I got my priorities straight again. I
yeah,
still
you
drive
got it,
1,004 tons
I
or
mean, you could go spend
almost
like
300,000.
50 to 100 grand on a new truck, or you could just pay 10 grand for a new truck and go buy a brand new snowmobile, right? See, it's all about priorities. It's not about the money.
Yep, totally. Yeah, right. Priorities are definitely straight. I don't know. I think it's having the two kids. I have like zero interest in a new truck. I mean, I just look at mine with Oreos and fishies smashed into the carpet and
Oh yeah.
chocolate the thing. I'm like, dude, it's all good. Just keep driving this Tundra into the ground. Let the kids do their thing for now.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, it sounds
Speaking
like we've told a lot of the story of proven progression, and my kind of my final question for you is that what's next for you? And I've got just kind of a couple bullets here to think about. Is like, you talked about the avalanche training and some of the eye opening that you had there. So is avalanche training in your future? Is it something you want to do? And then is there also like additional skills? Are you going to go back to proven progression? Are you looking to open up some sponsorships in the snowmobile world at some point? Because from my point looking in, like you're at that level where like maybe that's on the table for you. If that's something you're interested, we can throw it out there into the universe and see what happens.
Yeah, well, I did. I did the elevated backcountry Avi training, and that was just like an absolute phenomenal experience. And coming from a guy, I mean,
Yeah.
as a father now, safety is a huge priority to me. But in the past, it's like, yeah, be safe, but like, I want to go ride. I want to go ride, and being like, I have to take one of the few days I can ride to like go on the mountain and look at snow. It like killed me to think about, but I was ready to do it. And then after it, I was like, that was like
The best
so,
money you've ever spent, right? It's
yeah. And like, I did learn a ton. It was totally worth it. It helped that the snow was crap, but it was so good that I would definitely like do it again as a, refresher course. I don't know if I do one every year, but maybe every other year or something. And also just highly recommend it to people
yeah,
like everyone does after they do a
yeah.
course like that to get that type of training. So I would definitely say I'll probably end up doing a refresher course. I don't know if Avi 2 is in my future, at least not yet. Um,
So
and then,
I went through it recently, and I'll just share my experience and take it for what it's worth. And for you and for everybody who's listening, is like I
you're
had taken.
going to talk about,
I'm sorry, say it.
you said you went through it, but you're referring to the level 2.
Well, I've gone through all of the, level one, level two, both, right? But it's like, just my experience with Avi training is that, awareness classes, I try to like hit one up almost every year, right? Like just going to the dealership and like hearing about it again, because it just gets me in the mindset every year for the season, right? And so for me, an awareness class, that's a lot of times it's free or it's super cheap. Like that one just do every year for everybody. And again, this is more advice for the audience that's watching than anybody. And then like an ARI level one, if you've taken it and you only intend to go that far, every 2 to 5 years in that window is a good to kind of go back and do a refresher. But I would tell you, like I went through an ARI level one. I went, I've done two of those in the past, and then I now this last season, not this season, but last season, I took my ARI level two. And the cool part about the ARI level two is it kind of gets you to the point where you can start to legitimately create your own forecast, right? And there's places I've ridden this season, especially where I've gone into where there is no avalanche forecast. Like I was just in Diamond Lake, Oregon last weekend, and there's no Avi forecast. And so by going through these different levels of training, like it helps you have a lot of peace of mind and comfort in knowing that you're able to recognize terrain, recognize risks of, like what has the weather been doing? Like, is it wind loading? Is there, an icy layer in there? Like, what am I feeling under the snow when I'm in there trenching with my track? And you start to be able to learn enough to be able to start assessing and kind of making up your own decisions for what's safe to ride and what's not. And I think a lot of people think of it as like the more avalanche training you get, the more like people ride super conservative. Like I actually find that there's a middle ground where people start to get avalanche training and they get super paranoid and they really dial it back because they think, oh my God, everything's dangerous. But what I've really discovered is that the more you learn, the more you understand, the more you can make an educated decision based on the current conditions. So there's some days I'm totally comfortable ripping up a big chute,
Yeah.
but not today maybe is the answer, right? It just depends on
Yeah.
the conditions and what's going on. But it allows me to ride every day with confidence, knowing that I'm making good decisions and not putting myself and my riding group at risk. where kind of like a little bit of avalanche education I find is good because it scares people a little bit, but sometimes it makes them so paranoid that they just don't want to go on anything anymore. And I think
Yeah.
the more education you get, the more it re-unlocks that terrain for you and allows you to just like have fun again. So
Yeah, no, that's really really good advice and good to hear. And I think like how I would put it with when you're snowmobiling before any training, you don't really know other than maybe the free stuff you've seen or things on YouTube. But like the training in general, what it does really helps you establish a relationship with the mountains, right? You used to just like ride on them and take them as granted as like this is the mountain, but you start learning almost about the mountain as if it's a person or something,
yeah,
and
yeah,
how it and obviously, as you're saying, that level 2 sounds like it furthers it even deeper,
yeah, it
right?
does. Yep.
Could really enhance the experience.
Yeah, it's a good time. So what else?
Yeah,
Anything else for your own like just personal like what's next for you? Like, and we were starting to talk about
yeah,
avalanche training skills and then potential sponsorships. So
yeah. Like I never did the YouTube channel with any end goal. Like I'm gonna start making money off YouTube and be a YouTuber, and because I just don't. The consistency of it's really hard. The energy, like some days, just like dude with kids, and I mean, not only is riding take a lot of time for your family. Have you ever tried to edit a video that's got an hour of footage and like you got to upload it and thumbnails and it just takes so much time. So it's really been something I do when I enjoy, but I like it enough now, and I'm on this career path where if I actually have the time in the winter, I really will be doing something in the community, whether we figure out some type of clinics to do or get
that's awesome.
involved in avalanche training or do a snowmobile product. I've just got tons of ideas of things I'd like to do to kind of, I don't know, be a part of it on my own and have
That's
that
awesome.
be something I can do in the winter. And what that
Yeah,
is, I don't know, but you can count on me
yeah,
continuing to try videos that are fun for people to
yeah.
watch and get
I'm
them
I'm
stoked.
I'm legit getting like a tingly hair on the back of my neck feeling because like I know you're a man of your word and like hearing your ideas and your brainstorms like I'm excited for you and my offer has always been there and will continue to be like anything I can do to support you and help you progress in whatever you're doing if and kind of the weird you and I have talked about this before like even just business advice and like my career path with corporate America can give you some insights potentially into things you're looking to get into as well too with your trying to
Oh
bring
yeah, well, I've
products to
already
market and
done it in the past, and I will in the future with any ideas
absolutely
and I
yeah
know
yeah
the path
I'm
and how to work it.
yep I'm
But
excited
yeah,
for you I'm excited for you
planning to do something, like I said. So really eager to hit this summer hard with the company and make that work well so that I can
yeah
continue the riding in the winter more than once or twice a month because I think
yep
just ain't cutting it.
the calm before the storm we'll call it right
Yeah,
you're gonna
right.
come in like a tornado.
Yeah, like a
I know,
hurricane.
right? Like doing like bow tie hurricane tornadoes, right? I mean, you've seen the movie. Oh, dude, that's the video we need to make, right? Is
What is that?
you've heard the movie, the amazing movie called Sharknado?
Yeah, they've got like
What
four.
what
They
I
show
know, right? Like Sharknado. I'm imagining on Northwest Dynasty bow tie nado,
tornado.
bow tie nado, like
There you
nonstop bow ties just running around in the mountain, wiping out
like
communities.
a devil or something on the
Here
hill.
comes Caleb Kesterke bow tying his way through some community in the mountains.
He's got a video of him doing like 5 or 6 in a row, so I've already got some footage I can maybe borrow from him to
Perfect,
get it started.
perfect. I can see a B or a C movie coming. It's bow tie NATO.
Best.
Awesome.
But yeah,
Well,
and I just like I don't want to thank anyone individually because I always forget people, and I'd much rather not forget somebody and hurt their feelings. But there are a ton of people that I appreciate, and I'm sure they know who they are. Anyone I've really ridden with, any of my buddies. But I just want to thank our local community. I think it's awesome. Like, I mean, obviously it's not Muskoka with a bajillion views, but I look at videos that have a couple hundred views, and I'm like, that's more people than were in my entire high school, and pretty
that's
much
awesome.
all of them are people around here. And when I go to a parking lot and somebody mentions they've seen my video, it just is the most
It's fun,
flattering,
isn't it? That's
rewarding
awesome.
thing for me ever. I just love you guys. Thanks for the support, and
Yep,
I
yep,
just hope you're doing it.
yep. That's awesome. And I think there is one blonde-haired lady that has had two of your children that you might want to say a shout out to. What do you
Oh
think?
yeah, of course. So my wife, that's a no-brainer. My wife Shannon,
Yeah.
I love you. Thank you for putting up. in all my
Yeah, yeah.
chaos.
I mean that one's
Thank-
like that one's table stakes, so I'm gonna save your ass on that one. So
Yeah. Oh man, thank you, John. We I don't. Everybody I talk to and we bring your name up, everybody just thinks what you've done and are doing for the community is like awesome. Someone stepped up and did it like you
well,
have. So
yeah, well as you've experienced tonight, you used the word earlier. It's just damn fun. It's authentic. It's just I love just like you. I love being here and being part of the community and the ability to know that we're doing things like raising money for scholarships and we're educating people and we're getting the awareness out there. Dude, it's so fulfilling to be able to be part of this community and to do it. And why the heck else would I be here on Sunday night instead of over here watching TV in the other room? Hanging out with you, right? Like it's because it's fun. It's super fun. It's awesome. And I love helping people out, and that's it. That's what it comes down to.
absolutely, man, 100%, John.
Cool,
Thank you.
cool. Well, thank you so much for being on. And everybody, if you're watching and if you haven't done this yet, y'all need to be sharing this out so you can get in to win those Mountain Lab saws. So get in to win the share and win. Share it on your personal page. Share it out to all the different pages that you follow in the snowmobile world. And I wrap up every show, Mike, the same way. It's the same way. And here it comes. Are you ready for this?
Ready?
God bless you and everybody watching. And don't forget to live large. Have an awesome night, everybody. Mike, you hang on. I'll be with you in just a second. Thanks.
All right, John. Thank you.